Hello tanks and tankettes, welcome to a totally serious replay courtesy of JurassicJaeger here. Sometimes I pick out games because they're quite informative, they show good gameplay or they show tactics on particular maps or just general tactics, general techniques that I think it's a good thing to showcase. Other times I pick them based on sheer entertainment value, and I hope JurassicJaeger won't mind me saying that this is very firmly the latter sort. Now he's in the AT-15A, which is renowned for quite how great it is. It's just, it's the best. It's just so good. And ordinarily you'd think AT-15A, top tier, Malinovka, he's just going to sit in the bushes at the base and fire at stuff that gets spotted. But like I said, this is going to be an entertaining game. It's not going to be that kind of a game at all. Now this is a 9.6 game, and this actually is possibly before it was buffed. I can't remember. It got a couple of buffs. The biggest one was to its matchmaking, so that it no longer saw tier 9 tanks. In fact, this is probably one of the last limited matchmaking machines, and it was only kind of made so retroactively because it was around in-game before the main British tanks were, before the main tech trees. But it also got more hit points, and I'm just looking at the hit points and thinking, yeah, I think this might have been before it was buffed, but I'm not sure. I'd have to double check what my AT-15A has at the moment. Anyway, he does sit in the bushes, but for a moment, and then decides, you know what, screw this. And I don't know why. He doesn't actually say in his email. So all I have is speculation. Maybe he had had a couple of really bad teams in a row, or really a couple of bad games in a row, or I don't know, but for whatever reason, he has just decided to go all in. And it's not at all the sensible thing to do. In fact, by all rights, it should just get him killed very quickly. And in most tanks, in most matchmaking, it would. But fortunately for him, well, everything is still at sufficient range that they're not really having a good time hitting his weak spots. And it's not like this thing lacks for weak spots. However, most of the armor is pretty good. And it's like that with the British Nuffield line generally. Most of the armor's quite decent. Except the weak spots, yeah, everybody knows about them. Now he is taking some hits here. He's actually taken two just high rolls from the T-25 AT with its 105mm gun. And there's another one. That was 3 high rolls in a row. That guy had to be happy with himself. So all it's going to take is one more shot from any of the things shooting at him to kill him. And I will point out, there's not one but 2 fast-firing British arty on the enemy team. A Burt and a Bishop, both with the same gun. Very fast-firing, could easily take him out. Do you think they're going to? I'll also note, look at his team behind him. I think they were all just, I don't know, face-palming? Or were they just waiting to see, you know, how fast he'd die, how fast he'd be killed? Were they just sort of sitting back there taking bets? I don't know. I mean, given the amount of punishment he's taken, given he's taking all the hits, they could well at this point probably have just all rushed across themselves. But instead they're all just sitting back there. And so JurassicJaeger has to be getting some spotting damage right now because his allies are shooting these people. But he's the only one that's taking any risk for it, basically. So what do you want to bet if he dies right now, that the rest of them are still going to just sit back there and do nothing? What do you want to bet? Anyway, so he's actually been... his presence here has been the cause of a couple of tanks dying, but he doesn't have any kills yet. You know, he's just going to continue pushing forward. Either the Tiger P or the Firefly could easily kill him. There's a Black Prince to his left, which, again, could easily kill him with one hit. Easily. In fact, more than easily, because it would be shots into his side armor. Now, he's actually running down on AP ammo at the moment. He's got rather a lot of APCR, but honestly, if this was when it could still see tier 9s, I don't blame him at all. Because it was horrible when facing tier 9s. It was undergunned compared to its regular British counterpart, I want to say the 87? Yeah, it's the 88 that's at tier 6, and 87 that's at tier 7. So, yeah, it's no wonder that he had quite so much, but it's not like he's reached for it at all. He's just been firing his AP because he knows he's needed nothing else. Now, this Tiger P, by the way, easily could kill him. he's at such close range now that all this guy has to do is aim for one of the many frontal weak spots. He could hit the entire ridge above the thick frontal armor. He's got the MG cupola to aim for. The commander's hatch, I think, is a weak spot, although it's more flush with the hull than the MG cupola. And then, of course, with this, as with the AT-15A, the AT-15 rather, you can just fire through the middle of the gun mantlet and knock out the gun, knock out the gunner. So this thing does not lack for frontal weak spots. And there's the Black Prince, who had all the time in the world to shoot him in the side and did not. I mean, he would have been spotted doing so. Maybe he just decided discretion was the better part of valor. But now that JurassicJaeger's his allies have finally come across the field, finally, once all the danger has been removed, somehow JurassicJaeger himself is still standing. And he's lost most of his hit points, and it was all to that T-25AT, but apparently that guy just couldn't kill him, just couldn't reload in time, and obviously got knocked out by somebody firing from across the field. So, yes, this is not a tactic I would recommend. This was a tactic born of boredom, or silliness, or frustration, but either way, JurassicJaeger decided, you know what, I'm not going to take this seriously, and he didn't. And this is the result. I do not recommend anybody does this ever. However amusing this was, 9 times out of 10, hell, probably 99 times out of 100, you'll just die. JurassicJaeger has been incredibly lucky, and you're going to see at the end quite how lucky he's been. So the base area is completely cleared out, and that is basically 100% down to JurassicJaeger. He's not done that much damage himself, but if he hadn't done that, you can bet that both of those groups of players would just be sat there staring across the field at each other. And this would have been a far more static match. Hell, maybe it was the map. Maybe he just looked at the map and thought, you know what, screw this, I'm not going to sit here and have it be another Malinovka classic game where everybody just sits around and really doesn't do a lot. I mean, his allies actually have, in theory, lost the high ground, but it doesn't actually matter because they've won everywhere else. And there were just that many people sitting in the base area that if he'd been sat there as well, the enemy team, who would be a lot more numerous still by this point, could have potentially pushed round, made this a different result, but that bounce though. As it was, his completely ridiculous, ludicrous, in fact, downright, you might say, stupid actions have actually made this a win. But even so, most of his team has still died in the process, and he's actually one of the few top tiers left alive. Now, artillery takes out that remaining T-29, but we don't care about that. We care about this score screen. That's an ace mastery, cool-headed, steel wall, and a patrol duty. Look at those tanks he lit up. Look at that. He must have a lot of spotting damage. Top of the team, 1,460 damage when top tier. He actually had by far, well, not by far the most damage actually. There was a KV-1S with, not KV-1S, Nashorn had 1,600. KV-3 had 1,500. So he was still top damage on his team. But the results we're interested in are the 3,131 spotting damage and the 8.4k blocked damage. They could not kill him. The Tiger P was firing HE at him. He took an artillery hit from the Bishop, which did nothing. So, yeah, it helps. It helps when your enemies are as bad as the enemy team. Almost half the enemy team did 0 damage. And this is why this result would not happen most of the time. It was just that magic combination of the enemy team being terrible and him having enough people behind him that, you know, even though it took them a long time to move up, they were at least shooting the stuff he was lighting up. So yes, this game, this entire match was a complete novelty. Do not do this. Do not do this at all. But that said, it was still pretty funny to watch. So hopefully you've enjoyed this, and if you have, you can hit the like button below. You can leave any comments, you can sub if you aren't already, and as always, stay tuned for more.